Just imagine a world served by compassionate business. Now, what would that look like? And how would you do it? And is it even possible? And that's my challenge this evening, is to share with you our journey. And when I say our, I'm talking about myself and my brother who's come on the journey with me. It's to share our journey about our pursuit of that vision. So compassionate business, what would it look like? I've got no facts and figures, but I will wind up and get into a bit of passion. So what does it look like, that vision? It's got 4 key words: world, served, compassionate, and business. Let me start with business. Now, when I'm talking business, I am talking profitable, viable business, the cornerstone of Western economies. And I know the words compassion and business aren't often seen together. But when I'm thinking of business, I'm thinking powerful, compelling, all-engaging business, the business that we know. And yet, it seems so constrained by that paradigm of profit and growth. Growth and profit at all costs, the pursuit of it. But what if that paradigm was different? What if that paradigm was compassion and profit? Ooh, how would that mix? The world, looking at the word world, as calling out, as crying out for us to do business differently. We hear it all the time in the news. We talk about integrity, stewardship, sustainability, social justice, and social responsibility. The world is constantly calling out for us to do business differently. And into those words, I add compassionate. What would it look like if a business was compassionate? Imagine businesses reaching out to the cold and vulnerable. Businesses with a purpose and objectives greater than what their own are. Purposes for the common good. And it's not to say that we don't have businesses like that, but matching that up. If businesses had a desire to do what was good and right and to be kind and generous. And onto this word compassion, how do we serve? How would a compassionate business serve? And I use 2 words for that, with humility and vulnerability. Ooh, how do you make that work? How would compassionate business really work if it was humble and it was vulnerable? Is that just a pipe dream? Am I in la la land? I don't think I am, otherwise I wouldn't be standing up here this evening and having to put myself out in front of you. Well, at least I hope not. For me, the challenge is, how do you mix? How do you mix compassion and profit? And I think of profit like the fuel that runs the car. I mean, without it, the car's going nowhere. And without profit, a business isn't going to survive, right? But it's not the fuel that hops in the driver's seat. It's not the fuel that decides the destination. It's the driver. And I think of compassion as the driver. And if we start with compassion, we will get purpose. And when we have purpose, we will get destination. So compassion and profit, they can and they do mix if we want sustainable businesses for the benefit of future generations, for the benefit of common good. I've been involved in business for 25 years now, and I've been fortunate enough to be involved in corporate businesses and some community businesses and some locally owned businesses. And I've loved it. I've loved the cut and thrust, the challenge. I love doing business and I get passionate about it. But it's not sustainable. How long can we continue to take and not replace? To drain resources from a finite world? How long can we continue to borrow from future generations for our pleasures and our toys of today? No, I don't think we can. Business can be more than that. I don't think we can continue to count people like numbers, to continue to expand the gaps of inequity, of which business can be guilty of. I don't think we can continue to compete and not count the cost. And to call out for more and more growth when we live in a finite world. And it makes me think of that old Cree Indian saying, and some of you may know that. When all the trees are cut down, when all the rivers are poisoned, and the last fish is caught, only then will man realise you can't eat money. You can't eat money. And as the realisation of that struck me, my brother and I, both in our mid-40s, he won't like me saying that, but both in our mid-40s decided that we would passionately engage our middle-age crisis. And we would step away from what we were doing and we were going to go out and make a difference in the world. And we decided that we would pursue this compassionate business thing. So what would it look like? We came up with this really neat model and we called it our altruistic business diamond. And at the top point, at the northernmost point, at the most compelling point, the point where you start is the question why. Why are we going to do business? Is it going to be for profit? Is it going to be for reward? Is it going to be for our own personal gain? Or could we do it for a greater good, for a better good, for a common good? And at the second point of the diamond, the eastern point, where the sun comes up and you get up in the morning, what's your heart's desire? When you get out of bed, what is it you really want to achieve? What is the way that we are going to do business? Will we do it with generosity? Will we do it with compassion? And the third point of our diamond, at the southern point, the point where it's in the shade, the point where it starts to get a wee bit cold. What does that look like? Where it's hard for business to go to. Are we prepared to give and to trust? How will we do business? Will we do it by giving, trusting and giving again? Hard thing to do in business. And the fourth point of our diamond, the westernmost point, when the sun's setting and the day is done, what will we do with what we've made? Will we keep it? Will we protect it? Will we say it's not enough and we need to grow it? Or will we share it? And will we look out for those who are in need? So this is our business model. Ready to go, right? Wrong. We struggled. We had this really neat model, but we struggled. How were we going to execute it? I mean, how do you engage people in that? People looked at us and thought, oh, you're nuts. And as we started to visit and see people, we started to get a few encouraging signs and a few people started to support us. And we had some people start to say, well, could we donate to what you're doing? Because what you're doing is quite cool and it's really neat. And we started to get a bit more encouraged. We're going, well, maybe this thing, this compassionate business thing could work. And we started to step out a little bit, but we struggled. And then we had the epiphany. We're looking at this all wrong. We're looking at this through traditional business classes. But we don't want to be a traditional business. So how do we do business differently? Let's turn the model up on its head. And we turned it up on its head and we said, what would happen if we formally decided to give away our time and our knowledge for free? Insane. The accountants would hate it. But it would engage people. Free, giving away something for free. We thought, that's what we'll do. And from there came our compelling idea. And our compelling idea is this. At the heart of compassionate business is a gift. And it's given. It's not paid for. It's given with compassion. It's given with generosity. Not with compulsion and not with condition. Or at least that's what we try to do. Easier said than done. But that was the compelling idea. And our gift is to visit every home and to provide free, sustainable living advice. And since our epiphany, we visited 500 homes. And we've shared with them. It takes about an hour to 2 hours. And we've shared and we've gifted free, sustainable living advice. And we've helped cold homes be warm. We visited homes of people who can't afford to pay their power bill. And we've helped them with fuel costs. We visited homes and we've talked to families about the next generation and waste minimisation. We visited big homes and we've talked about renewable energy. And we visited other homes and we've talked about water conservation and how you can water your garden in a drought. And the thing is that we've just tried to give away our knowledge for free. Because at the heart of a compassionate business is a gift. So what? How are you going to change the world with that? What difference would that make? Well, just think if every single home in the world, engaged sustainable living, would we have some of the issues that we can see on the horizon? What would happen to global warming if we could reduce energy efficiency? What would happen to the amount of rubbish and landfill if we could waste minimise? What would happen if we looked after our precious water resources better? What about fair trade and social equity and social justice and community businesses? What difference could we make if we gave away our information and our time for free? We think it's a gift worth giving. And that's what we're passionate about. So we've set out on this journey, and we think that if we visited every home, we might be able to change some things about the world. But there's an unanswered question hanging out there. Great, Nick. You've told us about your passion, but there's a big question. How are you going to make money? If you're giving it all away for free, how are you going to grow your business? Hate to see your balance sheet. How are you going to feed the family? My wife asked me that as well. And it's been tough. It's been a challenging almost 12 months as we've embarked on this journey inspired by middle age. But we've been really encouraged. As we've walked through this journey, how do we make money? And how do we feed the family? When you give, and then you trust, and if you can give again, people respond to that. I think it's inherent in our nature. We all like to be generous. And people will pursue us, and people have pursued us and said, how can we support you? How can we be part of your journey? How can we help make a difference? And people do want to be part of something better, something greater. And this is the way they engage. If, as a business, we're prepared to take a risk. And that's what we've tried to do. So and just before I leave you this evening, I hope that in sharing, this is our journey. And I hope that as I share our journey, you might start to think about business differently. Because business is so powerful, it's so compelling, it's so engaging. We see it everywhere. And if we all thought about business differently, what difference could we make to the world we live in if business was done differently? Thank you.